First and foremostly, before I dwell into how far we've gone as far as debt management is concerned to where we are, let me take this opportunity first and foremostly to thank the African Development Institute, which is part of the African Development Bank Group, together with African Legal Support Facility for jointly organizing this very important workshop here in Accra. It is one of those workshops that really is an eye-opener, and it also affords us the opportunity to really, share with our colleagues in the other member countries. Now, coming back to debt management, the Gambia has come from a very long way. When the new government took over in 2017, the Gambia's debt to GDP at the time was about 120, or was a little over 120% of GDP. So following rebasing and a lot of structural changes and reforms that took place, after the GDP rebasing in 2018, it dropped, the debt to GDP dropped to around 85%. And here we are today, as of end 2024, the debt to GDP stood at 74.7%. So you can imagine from 120% of GDP to about 74.7% of GDP in 2024. And of course, with a PV debt to GDP of about 55%. So significant. This has not come easy. It came as a result of a lot of reforms, both structural reforms, and of course, governance and so many other reforms that actually took place to get to where we are. And part of some of those reforms is that we've always been watching in terms of our vulnerability level. So on an annual basis, we do the DSA, that is the debt sustainability analysis. We also embark on the medium-term debt management strategy, and also guided by our borrowing plan. And we've been really doing the best that we can to make sure that we are sticking with some of those, key decision-making points, or those decision-making points to guide us in terms of our debt management. As part of those strategies that we've also been doing is we have also made sure that, given the vulnerability level that we are in, to make sure that all the borrowings in line with our program with the fund, to make sure that we are staying within a concessionality, approved concessionality level, with a debt ceiling on an annual basis, to make sure that we are within the approved debt ceiling, so that at least we continue to be sustainable as far as our debt management is concerned. During the course of the period, just to take a backtrack a little bit, after 2017, when the new government came in, after all these reforms that took place, we also embarked on a debt restructuring that started in 2019, 2020, in which we were able to engage our major creditors to see if they can really elongate, so if they can actually push some principal payment and interest payment forward, to allow us to really gain that fiscal space to be able to embark. As you know, the expectations were also high. So with an overhanging debt, with a high expectation of development, so you can see that it was not easy. But we had to really engage some of our major creditors, the Islamic Development Bank, of course, the Badia, the Kuwait Fund, and etc., to see how we could forge ahead, a restructuring mechanism. And that's why we are very much elated today to share our experience with some of the member countries that we meet here, and also learn from experiences of some of these countries that actually have gone through the restructuring. And the fiscal space that it also created has also breeded marked progress and marked improvement in terms of the development space. Today, if you see, for some of you who have not been to Gambia for some time, if you go to Gambia now, you can see that there's a marked improvement both in the infrastructure, particularly the road infrastructure, as well as the energy infrastructure. So this has been an immense progress as far as we are concerned. We continue to watch out. We know that it's one thing to come out with all these good reforms, but nurturing those reforms, maintaining those reforms is another thing. And that is what we have been working, striving to make sure that at least we are better guided in terms of our debt management. In the domestic front, we have also been making a lot of progress because, again, coming from the the took over period to now, most of the financing from most of the operation as far as the domestic debt is concerned was mainly on the short end. But now we've reversed some of those in terms of our operation in the domestic debt market to make sure that we are now going into a longer dated instrument versus the short end. That has also helped, and it also continues to help to create those spaces, and also to really help, especially with the longer dated instruments such as the treasury bonds and so T-bills, T-bonds and so on. So use some of those proceeds also to help in the development aspirations of government. So by and large, these are some of the key areas as far as some of the measures that we've taken to get to where we are. And we really want to show our commitment to making sure that there's a prudent debt management, and we continue to nurture that. Thank you.